What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Welcome to the live show where we're going to read and react to the Week 11 AP Top 25. Don't expect a whole lot of changing because there was only one Top 25 upset from Saturday. We also had like 14 games canceled. Probably the worst college football weekend that we've had all season. Hope to never have one of those again. Wear your friggin' mask, people, because this is really starting to affect our college football. Number one, Alabama sit there at 6-0. They get back into playing football next week. They lost the game with LSU, in which LSU was a 23-point dog. Probably best for LSU not to be embarrassed in that manner in their home stadium. That said, the Tigers might just have 4 total home games all year, which is the doldrums if you are an LSU fan. Notre Dame stays at number 2, moves to 8-0 with a 45-31 stomping of Boston College. Ian Book looked good. And then we had some issues here and there. Boston College tried to fight back. Phil Jerkovic, I think, wanted this one just a little too much, having first signed with Notre Dame and then transferring to Boston College. But Isaiah Pryor got in for a little bit, which I thought was cool. Jeff Hafley feels like he's going to have a pretty decent Boston College team here in a couple of years, if not next year. They played really well against, well, 2 of the top 25 or top 2 teams in the, Final Four? Clemson, Notre Dame, depending on how you want to stack them up. I'm bullish on Boston College next year, but hell, I was bullish on North Carolina this year. It shows what I know. Ohio State at number 3 is 3-0 with Indiana, whom I can't wait to see where they're ranked here on the schedule. The big noon kickoff game at 11 a.m. Finally get to see if Ohio State gets challenged. I think that Indiana is a worthy challenger to Ohio State, and it's for Big 10 East supremacy, as Penn State and Michigan have completely checked out of the season. Number 4, Clemson, they get back into playing football this week against Florida State. Trevor Lawrence makes his triumphant return. They're 7-1, but all I got to do is win out, get to the ACC title game. They win the ACC title game. They're going to get into the playoff. For once, the ACC title game has some teeth to it because it feels like we're going to have Notre Dame and Clemson in there, but there is still a way for Miami to get there. Talk about them when we get to them in the rankings. Number 5, Texas A&M. Their one loss is to the number 1 team in the country. If I'm making the power rankings today, Texas A&M sits atop, right, with the win against Florida. It just sucks that they're in the SEC West and they can't avenge that loss. Right now, they're staring at a berth at the Cotton Bowl, right? They keep winning football games. Maybe it's versus an Oklahoma or an Oklahoma State, probably the Big 12 champ, whoever that is. Might be Iowa State, depending on if you're one of the 2 Iowa State fans that watches this channel. Number 6, Florida beat Arkansas 63-35. Kyle Trask has put himself solidly in the Heisman conversation, and depending on how this last 4 or 5 weeks goes, he could steal it the way that Kyler Murray stole it from Tua Tagovailoa. Kyler Murray had an outstanding game, 2018, the Big 12 championship game. Jalen Hurts needed to come off the bench to save Alabama in the SEC championship game, and the votes reflected that. Kyler Murray was your Heisman Trophy winner. It feels like Kyle Trask, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Ian Book are all going to be there. Maybe a Zach Wilson. We'll see. Number 7, Cincinnati, 7-0. Stumped a mud hole and walked dry East Carolina. They have been ruining people in the American, and I'm so looking forward to them playing Tulsa in a game that was supposed to be played earlier this year but got rescheduled because Cincinnati had a COVID-19 scare, and that one might be for American supremacy. Number 8, Brigham Young, 8-0. A lot of y'all are Zach Wilson truthers. I'm not. I think that BYU played a trash schedule. I think that Zach Wilson is fool's gold in the NFL. But if that's who you want to ride with, that's who you want to saddle up with, by all means. It's the best team in the state of Utah. Whatever that does for you. Number 9, we got Indiana, who moves up from 10. That's pretty good. It's pretty good, right? 4-0. They are the highest rank that they have seen since 1967-68, right? They're also off to the best start in the Big Ten they've seen since 1988. And while Michael Penix Jr., Stevie Scott, Watt Fillior, and Ty Freifogel have been great, it's their defense that is getting my attention. They turned Michigan State over 4 times. They blanked Michigan State, even as Michigan State had opportunities to score inside the 5 a couple of times. It's brutal if you're a Michigan State fan. Seeing Rocky Lombardi basically bounced out of the game by Indiana after throwing 2 picks in the first 20 minutes. But Michael Penix Jr. threw 2 picks in the first half. It's just Michigan State couldn't do anything with it. I think we're looking at probably 17, 18 points being the spread between Indiana and Ohio State. Most folks are going to pick Ohio State. Matter of fact, only Indiana fans are going to pick Indiana going into this one. I hope it's a good game. I want to see a really classic Big Ten affair, which might mean that the score is like 6-3. So I don't actually mean that, but you get what I'm saying here. Number 10, Wisconsin beat Michigan stupidly. 49-11, man. Like, it's the worst loss at Michigan by a Michigan football team since 1935. It was also historic in that Michigan went into the half with their largest halftime deficit at home since 1927 when Michigan opened the stadium. Not a good look for Jim Harbaugh. Wisconsin gets Northwestern, who I expect to see in these rankings here in just a little bit next week in a showdown of, I believe, Big Ten West supremacy. So that ought to be fun. Oregon at number 11 got off to a rocky start and then just decided to pour the entire 55-gallon drum of whoop ass on Washington State. Wazoo got everything and more. Tyler Shuck actually looks like he knows what he's doing out there, and I really enjoy watching Mario Cristobal's defense work with Joe Moorhead on the sideline doing the offensive coordinating stuff. Feel good about what Oregon can be. I expect them to be in the Pac-12 championship game, maybe against a USC team that might play its best football in the last 2 minutes of the game again and end up winning. We'll see, because Keaton Slovis turns into a son of Krypton in the last 2 minutes of the first 2 games that he's played in. Number 12, we got Miami. 7-1 Miami. They squeak out a win against Virginia Tech, 25-24. I think De'Aaron King is the best quarterback none of y'all are talking about. I'll take De'Aaron King over Zach Wilson. How about that, right? And if Miami is able to keep winning out and Clemson slips up, you're talking about Miami perhaps getting into that ACC championship game against Notre Dame, in which case we would not see Clemson in the college football playoff. So Miami is at least keeping Clemson honest. Number 13, 4-2, Georgia. They were 12 last week. They slide to 13. They have losses to Alabama and Florida, who are 2 New Year's 6 bowl teams, the best 2 teams according to the standings in the SEC, and I think they're on a collision course to play in the SEC championship game. I just need to know, is your man Kirby going to figure out how to put his best quarterback out there? Because if it's JT Daniels and we don't find out until like later in the season, everybody in Georgia is going to be pissed, even more pissed than they already are, to see Stetson Bennett out there taking snaps when you have Carson Beck right there, right? Even Dwan Mathis looked better against Florida than Stetson Bennett did. Goodness me. Oklahoma State is ranked number 14, 5-1, headed into Bedlam this week. Big game on the calendar for me, right? Number 1, it is the ABC Saturday night game. Expected to see that. Also about who can play in the Big 12 championship, because both of these teams have an opportunity to control their own destiny with a win. Spencer Sanders is a turnover machine, and Oklahoma has been turning people over here over recent, playing their best defensive football. But on the other hand, you got Chuba Hubbard, who's been kind of hit and miss this season. And for a team that thought they were going to play in a national championship in January, they still look pretty good, right? They look decent enough. Shouldn't have lost that game to Texas. They kind of gave it away. They ought to be undefeated going into this game. But if you're looking at talent versus talent, Oklahoma has them. Marvin Mims has been outstanding as a true freshman. Spencer Rattler's coming into his own. You get Ramondre Stevenson and Ronnie Perkins back. Maybe Trajan Bridges this week. We'll see. And Oklahoma figuring out its identity and hitting its stride these last few games. I'm very excited to see that game. Coastal Carolina at 7-0, number 15. They had a game against Troy that got canceled. But they also got a game to end the season against Liberty. And Liberty is undefeated. So that could actually be a really cool game, because I expect one of those 2 teams is going to be like, yo, New Year's 6, we're undefeated. We want to play for a national championship. Come get us, along with BYU. And for that matter, maybe even Cincy. Marshall is also tied at 15. Wow, we got identical points, 557, 557. So we got Conference USA likely champ and the Sun Belt likely champ tied at 15. I think that's also, that would be so cool if we could get a playoff where we got the Sun Belt champ versus the Conference USA champ. Why do you folks really hate the playoffs expanding? I will never get it. Iowa State at number 17, 5-2. They got a chance to get in that thing, but, you know, it's Iowa State. Every time I expect Iowa State to do something well, they go and become Iowa State. Like, what do you want me to do, man? You lost to ULL. Like, the reason that nobody can take the Big 12 seriously this year is on you as much as it's on Kansas State, as much as it's on anybody that lost to Sun Belt teams. Like, I'm even going to let the Kansas loss to Coastal Carolina slide because they turned out to be an undefeated football team midway through this season, all right? But until Iowa State actually goes and win a Big 12 championship game, I'm going to talk about them not being able to win a Big 12 championship game. Number 18, Oklahoma, behind Iowa State. Took a loss to Iowa State and took a loss to Kansas State, but I think Oklahoma's a better football team, a more talented football team than Iowa State if they get the rematch, though Breece Hall has been the best tailback in the entire country outside of perhaps Kyron Williams. That's about it, right? Like, the way that he's been playing football this year and the way they've been able to ride him has been remarkable. Circle Breece Hall. He's going to be better than David Montgomery when all is said and done, and he is the best offensive player in the Big 12 right now. Really great football player. Oklahoma with Spencer Rattler needs to figure out how to, well, just play their best football for 60 minutes. Like, they're outscoring teams 103-10 to open the first quarter. And then they decide to either let off the gas in the third or fall apart in the fourth in games that they've lost. When they've been able to finish, it's been remarkable. 62-62 against Texas Tech and Kansas, but it's also Texas Tech and Kansas, right? It's not really the teams that you needed to beat. Kansas State, Iowa State were the two teams that I thought at the start were going to be there toward the end. Right now, it's Oklahoma State, it's Texas, it's Iowa State, and it's Oklahoma. And those, I think, are going to be the four teams that are vying for that Big 12 championship. Northwestern is 4-0 and number 19. That's not getting a whole hell of a lot of respect, but they also haven't played anybody. They get an opportunity to do that when they go and play Wisconsin this weekend. Number 10 Wisconsin versus number 19 Northwestern for Big 10 West supremacy. Number 20 USC needed to pull it out late against Arizona in a game that they should have lost. But as I said, Keaton Slovis turned into Superman to finish the game, and they go get the W in a game they probably should have lost for the second straight week. USC could be the softest Pac-12 undefeated champ that gets a college football playoff bid. It's like that, right? Like, they go and beat Oregon in a Pac-12 championship game and they're undefeated. How are you going to keep them out? Somebody is, but how are you going to do it? Shout out to Clay Helton, who continues to just be that dude that lives dangerously and comes out smelling like roses. Number 21, Liberty, is 8-0. They beat Western Carolina, but it's not really been about that. It's that Liberty's been 8-0. Now, their schedule is worse than BYU, so they're not playing in the playoff. But, as I've been saying, give me the holy war between Liberty, the evangelicals, and the Mormons and BYU. Let's see how this goes, right? Like, I would really enjoy that. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. Plus, Malik Willis has the best natural arm that I have seen outside of Spencer Rattler. That ball just flips, dude. He's so much fun to watch. 300 yards passing he had yesterday with 97 yards rushing, like 5 total touchdowns. If he was playing on another football team, we'd be talking about him for the Heisman Trophy. Texas at number 22, or I should say if he was playing on a Power 5 football team, not another football team. Texas at number 22, 5-2. Sam Ehlinger has not been a great passer. When they've been able to run the football, they've been able to play well. Whenever they played defense well, they played well. I'm waiting on them to play a complete game against a Big 12 opponent. I don't know when that's going to happen or how that's going to happen, but they also need some magic to happen as they lost to they lost to Oklahoma and probably shouldn't have beaten that Oklahoma State team. But as we continue to take a look at what Tom Herman has to get done, I think winning a Big 12 championship is all that's going to save him going into next year. Like, I can't see him being brought back, though he had the most talented football roster in the Big 12. You changed both your coordinators, and you still got 2 losses in a 10-game season. It's not a good look. Auburn at number 23. Why do y'all keep ranking Auburn? I have no idea. ULL at number 24 is 7-1. Again, good football team. Just got the 1 loss. And then my alma mater, Tulsa, clocking in. Number 25, 4-1. With a W over previously ranked Southern Methodist, the only top 25 upset of the weekend. Tulsa was down 21-0 in that game, came back to win it 28-24. Like, the way that Tulsa's winning football games is just bonkers to me. Because, like, they've had things go their way in a year where Well, not in a year where things have all gone their way, because they have for the most part. But like last year, they had a bunch of things just not go their way. All the stuff that usually doesn't go their way is going their way this year. So maybe they're going to be able to use their smoke and mirrors and luck to beat up on Cincy here in a couple of weeks. Others receiving votes: North Carolina got 101. SMU got 20. Utah got 17. Washington got 15. Arizona State got 9. Boise State got 6. San Jose State got 5. Appalachian State got 5. Nevada got 3. Iowa got 2. Buffalo got 1. And Central Florida got 1. Let's see. What else we got in here? I'm trying to make sure I get most of y'all. We've been streaming for about 15 minutes. I want to do about 20 minutes. Let me see if I got any good questions in here before we shut it down. Wolverines, what happened? Just regressed. Come back around 5 o'clock. I'm going to address that in a separate video for all you Michigan fans out there. So be back here 5 o'clock Central Standard Time for that upload. Also got the Ohio State Indiana preview dropping at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So be here for that as well. See, what's the argument against Trask as the Heisman frontrunner? He's breaking every record with no cupcakes. The argument is the loss to Texas A&M. That's the argument, because it usually goes to the best player on the best team. He's not the best player on the best team. Mac Jones is the best player on the best team. Matter of fact, you can make an argument that it's Devontae Smith or Najee Harris, but you don't give that award to a wide receiver, not usually. And it's been some time since we saw it awarded to a running back. Mac Jones is ahead of Kyle Trask, and when you talk about breaking every record, so far he's just played in more games than Mac Jones, right? I get you on the 28 touchdowns, right? I get you on what he's done at Florida, and I get you on who they've been beating up. I'm just telling you how it is, right? I don't know about Heisman frontrunner. I'm not there yet. I know who Trevor Lawrence is. I know who Justin Fields is. There are people that are still figuring out who Kyle Trask is, and many of them vote in the Heisman. I don't have a Heisman vote, right? I'm going to sit on the selection committee of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, but I don't have a Heisman vote. It bothers me. But if he were to win the SEC championship game, it's not front runner. It's Heisman winner. That's how it goes. You get an opportunity to unseat Alabama in the SEC championship game as the number one team if you just do your job. So it's moot, right? Like, why does he need to be the front runner in the second week of November when he can win the damn thing in the second week, third week of December? Like, keep it 100, man. Eye on the ball here. Let's see what else we got in here. How about the state of Indiana football? Yeah, I did that in the preview. Come back at 6 o'clock. Hey, RJ, yeah, Jim Harbaugh, come back at 5 o'clock. Let's say. Let's see what else we got in here. My twins are 2020 graduates. One's a Hoosier and the other's a Buckeye. Visited Ohio State for football and IU for basketball. I'm all in. So you're a Clemson fan with kids at the two best Big Ten football programs in 2020. That's very cool. Let's see. I am. What else? We have anything else to go over? Can't blame yesterday on Michigan. I mean, they did lose. Just gives me a trailer when team doesn't. Gets me triggered when a team doesn't play Saturday, don't play, and they get ranked high if they didn't play. Happened last week, man. Like, it'll happen again. That's how the rankings usually work. And when the college football playoff rankings come out, like, I think week after next, everybody is going to start to lose their minds in a very real way. Who do you think is winning Bedlam? Come back at noon tomorrow, right? I'm going to do that upload. Should USC even be considered for playoff if they keep winning like this? I mean, Notre Dame was considered for the playoff when they were winning like this in 2018. Like, that's my comp for USC. My comp is 2018 Notre Dame, which we all knew was a soft, undefeated football team. And yet, there they were playing in the college football playoff against Clemson and getting railroaded, all right? Like, a 5-7 USC team should have knocked off that undefeated Notre Dame team in 2018, but they didn't, because we have decided Power 5s plus Notre Dame get the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to put them in if they're undefeated. The difference is we're playing so few games this year that we're likely to have 6 to 7 undefeated teams. I mean, let's just go back through the rankings right quick. Liberty's undefeated. USC's undefeated. Northwestern's undefeated. Marshall's undefeated. Coastal Carolina's undefeated. Oregon's undefeated. Wisconsin's undefeated. Indiana's undefeated. That's 7. Brigham Young, Cincy, that's 8 and 9, right? And then you get to Ohio State, 10. Notre Dame, 11. Alabama, 13 undefeated teams in the top 25 in the second week of November. Like, it's just going to be difficult, man. And this is the reason why I've always said you need to have a conference championship, or you need to have a 24-team playoff, 16-team playoff, or both in all likelihood, so you can actually whittle the field. I mean, I talk about this in the Jim Harbaugh segment I want you to watch, but one of the criticisms of this show in college football, period, has been nobody cares about the group of 5 teams, the teams that aren't blue bloods. And what it comes down to is alumni and money, right? Like, Ohio State fans are on YouTube. Oklahoma fans are on YouTube. Show me the Coastal Carolina fans. Central Florida has one of the largest undergraduate enrollments in America. Show me Central Florida on YouTube. Show me Central Florida on Twitter. Show me where their fan base is, because they're new money. Like, if you don't have 3 or 4 generations going through your school as alumni, you probably don't have a large following. And guess what the television markets care about? Who has the most people that are going to watch the product? And Notre Dame has been able to capitalize on that in a very real way, because there are years in which they've been able to play in New York and LA in the same year, right? They're able to play in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, California, Florida, because they could put all those games together. And because they could put all those games together, they create a larger fan base, because that one time they come through Austin, Texas. They get all the Notre Dame stands to come around from Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, wherever, to see that game. Like, that's how this stuff works. And it's the other reason why I can't stand the way that we have to talk about college football. Because if we put a playoff in, we can make it a national sport, and then everybody cares about all these teams that are undefeated that are left. In the same way that everybody cares about what the Jets are going to do. The Jets are sorry. And yet you care what the Jets are going to do because they have some bearing on Trevor Lawrence, and there's some bearing on a divisional race. Like, the NFC East is awful. Like, if the NFC East was a college football conference, we would do nothing except trash it. We would never talk about it. It would be the WAC to us. It would be the Mountain West to us. But because there's going to be a divisional champ where you could probably see like a 5-11 New York Giants play an 11-5 Arizona Cardinals in a wild card, you care about the NFC East. That's the long and the short of it. All right. I think that's going to do it for me with that rant. I got to go celebrate my girlfriend's birthday. Please wish Laurel a happy birthday, November 18th, if you were there. Does Florida have a chance against Alabama? Nope. No, they don't. If you like the channel, please subscribe to the RJ Young YouTube channel. And if you would please become a member, that would help me tremendously, because YouTube is actually just the worst right now. Subscribe to the podcast, RJ Young Show Podcast, wherever it is you get your podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever it is you like to check them out. I'm an Apple Podcast kind of guy. I'm an Apple household. I will see y'all in a few hours. Deuces.